Welcome to Purposive Communication. This lesson is prepared and created by Ms. Raymond Zaira M. Fernandez, a faculty of the Department of Languages and Literature, College of Arts and Sciences, Central Mindanao University. Are you ready? In this unit, we will talk about communication processes, principles, models, and ethics. For the past lessons, we talked about the meanings of language and communication processes and elements, and definition, principles and relevance of purposive communication. In this lesson we will talk about the verbal and nonverbal communication. I guess you had already an idea about it since it was a part of your assignment last time, right? Specifically, we will talk about verbal and nonverbal communication. Functions of verbal and nonverbal communication. And types of nonverbal communication. Objectives. At the end of the lesson, the learners must have performed the following with 85% accuracy: defined verbal and nonverbal communication, enumerated the functions of verbal and nonverbal communication, and identified and discussed the types of nonverbal communication. Now, what is verbal communication? Verbal communication refers to an interaction in which words are used to relay a message. We actually use verbal communication every day. Do you agree? We rely on verbal communication to exchange messages with one another and develop as individuals. Say, for example, when we talk to other people, in the workplace, at the market, in malls, and in any places that we needed to talk. We use verbal communication for that. The term verbal communication often evokes the idea of spoken communication, but written communication is also part of verbal communication. For effective and successful verbal communication, use words to express ideas which can be easily understood by the person you are talking to. Consider the following when engaging in this type of communication. Number 1, appropriateness. It is the language that you use should be appropriate to the environment or occasion. Next is brevity. Speakers who often use simple yet precise and powerful words are found to be more credible. Try to achieve brevity by being more direct with your words. Clarity. This means that the meanings of words, feelings, or ideas may be interpreted differently by a listener. Hence, it is essential for you to clearly state your message and express your ideas and feelings. Next, we have ethics. Words should be carefully chosen in consideration of the gender, roles, ethnicity, preferences, and status of the person or people you are talking to. Lastly, vividness. Words that vividly or creatively describe things or feelings usually add color and spice to communication. Hence, you are encouraged to find ways to charm your audience through the use of vivid words. Now that you have an idea about verbal communication, we will proceed the next type, which is nonverbal communication. What is nonverbal communication? Well, nonverbal communication refers to an interaction where behavior is used to convey and represent meanings. All kinds of human responses that are not expressed in words are classified as nonverbal communication. Although no word is used in nonverbal communication, it can effectively communicate many human feelings more accurately than verbal methods of communication. Think about your reaction when someone tells you that you are beautiful, or when someone asks you to listen attentively. Experts have found that every day we respond to thousands of nonverbal cues and behaviors, including postures, facial expressions, eye gaze, gestures, and tone of voice. From our handshakes to our hairstyles, nonverbal details reveal who we are and impact how we relate to other people. Have you observed yourselves in the mirror? How do you talk? How do you move? What is the tone of your voice? What does your hair look like? Or the way you dress? Those are considered as nonverbal communication. Now, let us have the types of nonverbal communication. These are the following: proxemics. Kinesics, posture, gesture, haptics, facial expression, eye contact, paralanguage, and appearance/accessories. Let us have the first one, proxemics. This simply refers to the study of how people use and perceive the physical space around them. It is the space between sender and receiver of a message influences how message is interpreted. The amount of distance we need and the amount of space we perceive as belonging to us is influenced by a number of factors including social norms, cultural expectations, situational factors, personality characteristics, and level of familiarity. Body language is a form of nonverbal communication, consisting of body pose, gestures, and eye movements. Humans send and interpret such signals subconsciously. For example, it may indicate aggression, attentiveness, boredom, relaxed state, pleasure, amusement, besides many other cues. The next type is kinesics. It is the study of body movement and expression. Body language may provide cues as to the attitude or state of mind of a person. For example, in a classroom setting, when a person is bored, he may gaze around the room rather than look at the speaker, or he may shift positions frequently. Another example, when a person is nervous, he may bite his nails or mash hair. These are usually made unconsciously. On the other hand, leaning forward toward the speaker to express interest is the case of conscious body movements. Another type of nonverbal communication is gesture. It is a non-vocal bodily movement intended to express meaning. They may be articulated with the hands, arms, or body, and also include movements of the head, face, and eyes, such as winking, nodding, or rolling one's eyes. Can you observe someone's gesture? How can you describe them? In courtroom settings, lawyers have been known to utilize different nonverbal signals to attempt to sway juror opinions. An attorney might glance at his watch to suggest that the opposing lawyer's argument is tedious, or might even roll his eyes at the testimony offered by a witness in an attempt to undermine his or her credibility. We also have posture. Do you know that you communicate numerous messages by the way you walk, talk, stand, and sit? Posture is standing erect, but not rigid, and leaning slightly forward communicates to students that you are approachable, receptive, and friendly. Standing erect, but not rigid, and leaning slightly forward communicates to students that you are approachable, receptive, and friendly. Furthermore, interpersonal closeness results when you and your students face each other. Speaking with your back turned or looking at the floor or ceiling should be avoided. It communicates disinterest to your class. Another type of nonverbal communication is haptics. Touch is a widely used form of nonverbal communication tool, means by which people and other animals communicate. By touching, one can express a wide range of emotions. However, the accepted modes of touch vary depending on the gender, age, relative status, intimacy, and cultural background of the persons. Touch is an extremely important sense for humans. As well as providing information about surfaces and textures, it is a component of nonverbal communication in interpersonal relationships, and vital in conveying physical intimacy. Socially acceptable levels of touching varies from one culture to another. Let us now have the next one, which is the facial expression. Can you look at the mirror? What does your face look like? Do you look sad, angry, happy, surprised? We all know that the face is an important communicator. It is commonly said that the face is the index of the mind. It expresses the type of emotions or feelings such as joy, love, interest, sorrow, anger, annoyance, confusion, enthusiasm, fear, hatred, surprise, and uncertainty. Facial expressions are indicated through the mouth, open, wide or closed, eyelids, raised or lowered, nose, wrinkled or relaxed, cheeks, drawn up or back, and the forehead, lowered or raised. Within the facial area, eyes are especially effective for indicating attention and interest. However, interpretations of facial expressions differ from culture to culture. Smiling is a powerful cue that transmits happiness, friendliness, warmth, liking, affiliation. Thus, if you smile frequently, you will be perceived as more likable, friendly, warm, and approachable. We also have the eye contact. The eyes play an important role in nonverbal communication, and such things as looking, staring, and blinking are important nonverbal behaviors. When people encounter people or things that they like, the rate of blinking increases and pupils dilate. Eye contact helps regulate the flow of communication. It also signals interest in others. People also utilize eye gaze as a means to determine if someone is being honest. Normal, steady eye contact is often taken as a sign that a person is telling the truth and is trustworthy. On the other hand, shifty eyes and an inability to maintain eye contact is frequently seen as an indicator that someone is lying or being deceptive. What do you feel when someone shouts at you? What do you think when two people are whispering at each other? The next type is called paralanguage. Various acoustic properties of speech such as tone, pitch, and accent, collectively known as prosody, can all give off nonverbal cues. Paralanguage may change the meaning of words. Consider the powerful effect that tone of voice can have on the meaning of a sentence. When said in a strong tone of voice, listeners might interpret approval and enthusiasm. The same words said in a hesitant tone of voice might convey disapproval and a lack of interest. Consider all the different ways that simply changing your tone of voice might change the meaning of a sentence. A friend might ask you how you are doing, and you might respond with the standard "I'm fine," but how you actually say those words might reveal a tremendous amount of how you are really feeling. Our choice of color, clothing, hairstyles, and other factors affecting appearance are also considered a means of nonverbal communication. The kinds of clothes you wear and the accessories you have send very powerful nonverbal messages to your intended recipients. For example, wearing a stained and sloppy shirt to a meeting may make others see you as lazy or indifferent, while, on the flip side, a crisp business suit will make you look professional and competent. How about you? Can you describe what you are wearing right now? This time, we will learn more about the functions of verbal and nonverbal communication. I need you to still focus and listen to the discussion. Are you ready? Verbal communication has 6 functions. These are the following. First is sharing meaning. We all know that we have 2 kinds of meaning. The denotative meaning, which is the literal meaning of your words as agreed upon by members of your culture. And connotative meaning. It is the deeper understanding of words based on the situation. In other words, it is the meaning that is implied by a word apart from the thing which it describes explicitly. Another function is shaping thoughts. Our language shapes how we think about things. Linguistic determinism suggests that one's language determines the ways one's mind constructs categories. People of different cultures perceive and think differently about the same things. That is linguistic relativity. Another function is the naming function. Creating linguistic symbols for objects allows use to communicate meanings about the things in our lives. For example, for many years gays and lesbians were referred to as homosexuals. People then shortened it to homo, which was then used as a derogatory insult. Next is performing actions. For example, every day we make requests, we issue invitations, command things, and even taunt to try to influence others' behavior. The 5th function of verbal communication is crafting conversations. Language meanings, thoughts, names, and acts don't happen in the abstract, they occur within conversations. There are 4 characteristics fundamental to conversation. The first is interactive, 2 or more people are involved. Next is local management. We make decisions about who gets to speak, when, and for how long. Third is universal forms, the foundation of our interpersonal ties. And lastly, scripts, rigid structures of talk patterns such as meeting for the first time. Nonverbal communication is very essential in managing relationships. We use verbal communication to develop, sustain and maintain our relationships with others. We use it to declare powerful, intimate feelings to others. Have you seen someone declaring their feelings to others? This time, we will have the 5 functions of nonverbal communication. The first one is reinforcement. Do you know that the amount of redundancy nonverbal communication adds to the verbal message? If you say hi or bye, you will probably wave your hand also, and if you say you're hungry, you might rub your stomach. If something tastes bad, you would express your dislike accompanied with a disgusted look on your face. We also have substitution. It is defined as using a nonverbal action or cue instead of speaking. For example, instead of actually saying hi or bye, you might just wave a hand at someone. The nonverbal action here is the substitution of the words. The third one is contradiction. It is simply the use of a nonverbal message to negate the verbal message. If you ask how someone is and they say good, but they roll their eyes or look down at the floor and shrug their shoulders, you know they are actually not good and they have just negated the verbal message they were sending. We also have accentuation. It is the use of nonverbal cues to intensify the verbal message. If you speak louder and quickly, you are adding intensity to the verbal message. We can tell when a person is excited because they usually speak loud and their eyes widen, making the message more clear. Last function of nonverbal communication is regulation. It is the turn-taking cues of conversational order. Have you observed that we use hand signals to indicate that we are done talking and it is someone else's turn to talk? We also use nonverbal signals like looking at the other person as if to say, "What do you think about that?" without actually speaking the words. In this lesson, we discussed about the following concepts: verbal and nonverbal communication, functions of verbal and nonverbal communication, and types of nonverbal communication. Have you learned something? Can you think and summarize the concepts we have discussed? That is end of Unit 1, lesson. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next topic about models of communication. Goodbye.